Dear Santa, this year I've been really nice. Whether you've been naughty or very nice, join me for another fun holiday card making video. Hi everyone, I'm Yana Smakula and welcome back to my channel. Today we're making Christmas cards using lots of die cutting and just a little bit of stamping. The dies that I'm using for my cards today are the Spellbinders October Large Die of the Month. This is my favorite die of all of their large die sets ever released, and it's a super versatile die too. Now, the main die is the back of a pickup truck, and then you have tons of different inserts that go in the truck and make it work for all 4 seasons. So even though the cards that I'm sharing today are Christmas cards, you can easily use this die all year round just on its own. And you can see some photos of the other cards that I made for Spellbinders using this die just to show you how it works all year round. You have a beach ball and a surfboard. You have pumpkins. You have flowers. I didn't actually use the flower dies and I didn't make a card with that, but you get the idea. There's also a die to make Christmas tree and a die to make presents, and those can be presents under the tree or birthday presents. Okay, let me get these little dies out of the way. I'm using my handy main attraction tool to do that. It's a pretty and powerful magnet that's designed to hold your dies and also to pick up your dies like I'm doing here. I've already die cut all the pieces that I need for my card today. This die comes with sentiments. There's words that you can die cut and put on the back of the truck like a little license plate, but I want to replace that with some stamping and heat embossing. Here I have a super fun stamp set from Hero Arts. This is holiday label set, and I'm going to use the label that reads Express via North Pole. I think it's just super fitting for this card. I'm going to heat emboss this in white embossing powder, and here I'm using detail white powder from Hero Arts and embossing this directly on my truck die cut. To make my die cuts pop, I'm also going to add a ton of ink blending around the edges to darken them up a little bit. Here I'm using lipstick red dye ink from Simon Says Stamp, and I'm blending this with the help of a Ranger mini round ink blending tool and a Spellbinders circle foam. The foam is designed to go on a Spellbinders tool-in-one with a circle ink blending attachment, but I prefer to use it with my Ranger mini round ink blending tools, and I get really great results when I use this specific foam for my ink blending. I also have one die cut here that's not a part of the large die of the month. That's the Santa's hat. That actually comes from the Spellbinders Holiday Die Delights set, and I'll talk more about that particular die cut in just a minute. Okay, my ink blending is done, and I need to wipe down the ink from the main die cut, from the heat embossed area. Because of the nature of this ink, it's not as easy to wipe it off the embossing powder as it seems to just sit on top of it in color embossing powder. Now, what I like to do to prevent that, eliminate that, is I like to spray a microfiber cloth with Hero Arts Ultra Clean Stamp Cleaning Solution and just gently wipe down the heat embossing. You kind of need to be careful here because if you apply too much of this cleaning solution, you can dissolve the embossing powder, so just be careful. Time to assemble the truck, and I'm just going to use glue here and adhere all of the pieces in place, starting with the tires. I'm going to use foam adhesive for the bumper. This is the only part of the truck that is going to be popped up on the card. Everything else is going to be adhered using glue, and you can definitely use glue for the bumper as well. Now, here's the Santa's hat, and like I mentioned, this comes from another die set, and it's the Holiday Santa set. There are also other die sets that you can use to dress up your truck for the holidays. You can use maybe antlers from the reindeer set or a hat from the snowman set. So there are options to decorate the truck even beyond the large die of the month set. And you definitely are not just limited to that. The Spellbinders Large Die of the Month is an exclusive membership-only subscription club. You do need to join the club to get this die. However, if you don't feel like joining the club for monthly subscription, although I am telling you guys, the die designs, they just keep getting better and better. And I have seen them because it's part of my job to film the instructional videos for Spellbinders. So I've seen the designs that are coming, and they are totally different from what Spellbinders had in the past. And the dies are much more versatile and much more trendy. Also, just a note, nobody asked me to film this video. I was not paid to do so. I did get the die for free because I got it as a part of my job, but I am filming this video because I love this die set and because I wanted to share my excitement and my love for card making with all of you in this video. Spellbinders also has these small die of the months, and this month it's Fall Sentiments with an acorn image, and there's also a card kit of the months. Currently, this is available in the United States and it ships to a few other countries. If you are not in the United States, the shipping is kind of expensive, but Spellbinders is working to get lower shipping costs for the international crafters. So just hang tight, guys. It's coming and will be there soon. Okay, let's go back to the card. Once my parts and pieces were assembled, I started working on the background. And here I did my latest favorite thing, ink blending. I blended pool ink and also navy ink from Hero Arts onto a panel of island blue cardstock from Simon Says Stamp to create a deep blue ink blended panel. I will be doing some heat embossing and clear embossing powder on the background, and technically, it would be smart to heat emboss prior to doing any ink blending, as that would eliminate the need to wait for the ink to dry. But because I plan to heat emboss and clear embossing powder, it matters what I do first. And in this case, I need to do the ink blending first, and you'll see what I mean very soon. So I set the background aside to dry, and I decided while it's drying, I'm going to add some patterned detail to the gifts. I used my white pen and added diagonal lines onto some of the gift wrap, and also polka dots onto the other gifts. You can totally use pattern paper for this. I didn't have any paper with a print that was so tiny, so it was just easier for me to add the pattern in myself using a pen. I also used glue to adhere the gifts in place, and I tucked them into my truck. There is a die cut opening there. It's all been designed with that function in mind, so you don't need to make any slits in your die cuts. Whatever you want to put in the back of your truck, it slides right in. I also added some foam squares to the back of the truck to be able to foam mount it onto my background once it was complete. So let's go back to the background. It's all dry now. I'm going to stamp a few more labels from that holiday label stamp set from Hero Arts, and I will heat emboss them in clear embossing powder. Now, clear embossing powder becomes a shade darker on colored cardstock. So here, where I was doing ink blending on blue cardstock, I needed to add that ink blending to darken the paper first and then heat emboss the image to make the images look even darker than the color of the paper. Because if you heat emboss and then ink blend over the heat embossing, you will end up having the same color of embossing and paper. And how do I know this? Because I did do that. I was trying to save time, but I just ended up having to redo the entire background as I didn't like how that looked at all. Now, one last thing before we finish this card is to add shimmer to the background. Here I have a new to me shimmer spray from Hero Arts. This is Frost Shimmer. I also have iridescent white shimmer spray and I love it. I use it all the time. But for this card, because that background is so blue, I wanted to try something different, and this Frost Shimmer worked perfectly. It actually has a blue tint to it, so it added a blue shimmer to my background. Once it was dry, I foam mounted my truck on top. I also used Nuvo drops in clear, and I coated the lights, and that finished my project. Here are some close-up photos of this card once done and dry. I love how it turned out. I want to make a bunch more cards like this and give them to my closest friends. The text at the bottom of the card reads, "This year you wear," and you have the options to pick nice, naughty, extra nice, and very naughty. So that's a quirky card, and you can check whatever option applies to the recipient. Thanks so much for watching. If you have questions, as always, leave them in the comment section below, and be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't yet done so. Check the bell icon to make sure you receive notifications about every new video and posts on my community page. Thanks. I will see you next time. Bye.